Oh man, did The Simpsons really just make headlines again? Well, reportedly the show's coming to an end, something a lot of people are going to be welcoming, and others not so much. But how did this come about, and what's in store for the future of America's first family? Stay tuned for more details, and remember, this video is sponsored by NordVPN, and with my discount code CHANNELPUP and the link in the description below, you can get 4 months free with a 3-year subscription. And just a reminder, this video is not made for kids. Well, cowabunga, dudes. Let's do this. So The Simpsons made headlines across many reputable news sources when news of the show coming to an end broke. And this information comes from Danny Elfman, the composer of the famous Simpsons theme tune, who was speaking on a podcast hosted by the website joe.ie. And I quote, "From what I've heard, it will be coming to an end. I don't know for a fact, but I've heard that it will be in its last year." So there you go, all you need is for him to say, "I don't know for a fact, but I think it will be ending," for the tabloids to lose their minds. Jesus Christ. He also went on to say how he didn't believe the show's premise would be taken to by audiences, stating that, "I'm so flabbergasted and amazed that it has lasted as long as it did. You have to realize when I scored The Simpsons, I wrote this crazy piece of music and I expected no one would hear it because I really didn't think the show would have a chance in hell." Well, as they say, hindsight is 20/20. But really, this whole thing is such a non-story. Danny Elfman, the guy that composed the theme music, and hasn't really done anything for The Simpsons since that, save maybe the score of the Simpsons movie, which was out over 10 years ago, doesn't know for a fact, but thinks he may have overheard that the show is ending. And that's our official confirmation as far as the tabloids are concerned. Now, I think it's time to actually properly put this to bed, and I'm not the first person to report this, but hey. On Twitter, Al Jean, the show's current producer, stated, "We're all thankful that the following article is not true." And that's where he posted the article with Danny Elfman's interview. So there's your confirmation. They'll never stop The Simpsons. Never fear, they've got stories for years. Jesus Christ, remember that song? And we're all like, oh man, it's well past its prime. And they're just like, oh yeah, no, we'll never stop The Simpsons. Never fear, we've got a story for years. And we were all just like, I don't think you know what people really think. Now, to be honest, even before I read this article, I thought it was pretty bogus. The point is, like, every few months we see articles about how The Simpsons is gonna end. And anytime we've had any official word on the show ending, it's always been in hindsight. There's always been this hindsight thing of, oh, this episode was intended to be the very last one. Oh, I have an idea of how this could have ended. They could have gone back to the Christmas pageant again. People like talking about this show ending because, I mean, I think we're all gonna believe it, you know? This show is bound to end any day now. And I think for many it would be like putting down Old Yeller, with many referring to the modern Simpsons episodes as the zombie Simpsons, because, like, you know, the show's dead and it's a walking zombie of its old self, you know, get it? It's not like that allegory is completely fucking overused these days. And I've never made a video on The Simpsons myself before. We've had one Simpsons video on this channel before, criminally underrated, and it was by my buddy Dom, and it was a video essay on how The Simpsons handled the death of Mona Simpson. I suggest you check that out if you really enjoy The Simpsons, or if you feel that the show jumped the shark long ago. It's relevant to both sides of the fandom. So I guess I'll give my perspective on the whole should The Simpsons die matter. Personally, I think while the show's best days are definitely over, I think the show's worst days are also over. I think The Simpsons is at its worst when it's desperately trying to be relevant by constantly incorporating pop songs or doing political issues, because the thing is, like, a show like South Park can do it, because it doesn't take long to make an episode of South Park, whereas it usually takes about, I think, 6 months to make an episode of The Simpsons. So by the time it's done, it's completely irrelevant. But I think, to be fair, they have eased up on that somewhat. I mean, there was that really rather cringeworthy Trump skit that they did for YouTube. But we've also had some pretty decent episodes like How I Wet Your Mother, Everyman, Days of Future Future, Brick Like Me, Simpsorama. I thought The Book Job was pretty enjoyable. I mean, okay, I have been kind of tuned out a little bit. I don't know how recent these episodes are in reference to where we are now. I understand that the recent season got the absolute lowest ratings that the show has ever gotten. But remember when every other episode was some kind of story about Homer and Marge in their youth, and every single one of them contradicted the other? Now that's a video essay for another time. Like, can you even make continuity out of that? And how many times did we really need to hear of how Homer and Marge got together? The episode Boys of Bummer, where the entire town of Springfield turns on Bart Simpson because he, I don't know, missed a pitch or something? That wasn't good, but that's pretty far in the past. Remember when we had seasons worth of episodes where Lisa finds her true calling, but it's not right for her, and the middle-class suburban lifestyle is better? Remember the episode where Bart started driving? Not the one where he went to the World's Fair, but the one where he thought he was going to be a father as well. Remember the episode where Bart tried to embrace his adulthood by saying goodbye to all of his toys? He's 10 goddamn years old. And many kind of see these kind of things as signs that the show should have ended ages ago. I see it as a sign they should have aged their characters up at some stage. I get it, Bart's been 10 for over a decade now, heck, several decades at this stage, but you can age him up, just have it be like Simpsons Generation 2, basically. Kind of a reboot of the show where everyone's a bit older. Because they clearly want to tell stories involving these characters being older than they actually are. Remember the episode where Lisa starts smoking? She's 8 years old! 8 years old, and we're doing a story about smoke addiction. It's just absurd. As well as that, The Simpsons is very much a staple of the 90s. In their current state, you think The Simpsons, you think 90s, which is why it feels so out of place when we have these musical montage sequences with pop songs and these parodies of Apple technology. It just feels unnatural having The Simpsons in such a 21st century environment. If they aged the characters up, they could have adjusted the style of the show to go with it, so that The Simpsons as we know them now are the voice of the 90s, The Simpsons as we would know them if they aged them up today would be the voice of the early 21st century, the noughties and the 2010s. You gotta think, The Simpsons have visited New York while the Twin Towers still stood tall, to the point where Homer Simpson used them to go to the bathroom, and have also entered the age of Maple phones and the comic book movie boom and Donald Trump, and have not aged a single year. Homer Simpson has had 3 birthdays throughout the seasons. He's aged up from 34 through to 39, all while Bart Simpson has remained 10 for the entire time. And you know, I don't mind that it's fiction, it's funny if anything. Address it. But if The Simpsons wanted to grow with the times, they needed to grow. But they also needed to approach it from an angle of proper understanding. Remember that time when rather than having the opening title sequence with the couch gag, they instead had Lisa Simpson lip-syncing to TikTok by Kesha? Oh, I felt ill while watching that. Got worse yet, the treatment of guest stars on The Simpsons these days. In the past, they used to have the guest stars playing new characters, and there'd be a little bit of tribute in there, and a little bit of jibing and jibbing, and it was all fun and games. Nowadays, they kiss their asses. Remember Lisa Goes Gaga? What many consider to be the worst episode in the show's history. Others would say The Principal and the Pauper, but I'll fight you on that and I will win. Lisa Goes Gaga was just such an abomination. So no, I don't think The Simpsons should have ended a while ago. I think it should have taken an opportunity to branch off into something new. Let us actually properly explore Bart and Lisa's teen years. Let us see Homer and Marge mature a little bit. Have Maggie talk. I mean, she's talked in a few episodes. Why not actually have her do it permanently? Now, given the show's current state, given how things are going, and given the fact that no, it is not going to do that ever, it seems, do I want The Simpsons to end? Well, to explain my feelings towards this, I'm going to cite the couch gag from season 26, episode 1, by Academy Award nominated animator Don Hertzfeldt, which sees Homer and The Simpsons and the whole show go so far into the future beyond the point of deterioration. And no, we're not talking apocalyptic. We're talking about having the entire life of the show sucked out of it, completely dried up. No more effort. So little in common with The Simpsons that we know and love. Completely malformed. Homer just saying almost nothing but dough, 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 dough. Lisa just saying I am Simpson repeatedly. Bart just a mess. Bart just spouting out don't have cowman. And it kind of has this commentary about how The Simpsons is just kind of a marketing tool for merchandise. But we have this moment where a very mutated version of Marge puts her hand on a very mutated version of Homer and says, "Still love you, Homer," and it's just kind of, "I will never forget you." And that's kind of how I feel about The Simpsons. No matter how low it may go, no matter how bad it may get, no matter how lazy it may get, no matter how far we stray from the layered humor that we loved The Simpsons for, which, let's face it, is very scarce these days. No matter how sickening the use of modern pop culture in it may feel, no matter how trite their political commentaries, I'm still always gonna love The Simpsons, because every time I tune into one of those modern episodes, the reason I feel as angry or as sickened as I do is because I'm thinking about all the good times I had with this show. I still remember Homer falling down the Springfield Gorge. I still remember Homer trying to eat chips while Santa's little helper's puppies keep eating them. I still remember Homer in space chomping on the chips in anti-gravity. I still remember having my heart broken at the end of Mother Simpson when Homer looks up into the night sky as the credits roll, wondering what happened to his mother. I remember the Mr. Plow song. I remember how dark things got with Frank Grimes. I still remember Homer and Bart triumphantly biking across the Springfield Dome to try and stop the nuclear bomb. And who could forget steamed hams? Clearly nobody, as it only became a meme with dozens of different internet artists transforming it into something brand new and paying tribute to it. And this is the thing, a lot of people want The Simpsons to end because they feel like these modern episodes are tarnishing the show's legacy. But for all the Lisa Goes Gagas, we're never gonna forget episodes like 22 short films about Springfield. We will always look back at them fondly. And even if The Simpsons these days isn't entertaining, and at its worst is, well, boring even, I know where the remote is. I know how to change the channel. Plus, I've got several box sets of Family Guy I can just watch instead. We're gonna talk about that in the future. Frankly, I think there's a case for The Simpsons to continue, but I think work needs to be done. But truth be told, as bad as it may get, it's always going to be a comfort knowing that The Simpsons is still being made and is still being put on the airwaves. I think the same can be said of every generation. Very little stays constant as we grow up. I'm 23 years old and I've witnessed the birth and the end of The Big Bang Theory. I only ever watched Seinfeld on reruns. We've seen how Ted Mosby met the mother of his children. This coming month, we're gonna see how the Skywalker saga ends, even though it totally ended with Return of the Jedi, but whatever. Take it or leave it. Throughout all this change, it is nice to just have one constant thread. I don't think The Simpsons is necessarily going to end within the next 10 years. And if we can avoid it, I would like to do that. But the thing is, we have no idea what's going to happen when The Simpsons ends, because we've never had a show this long running and this big and this much a part of our culture end before. There's never been anything like The Simpsons, and I think when it does end, for decades and decades and decades after, we will still be referencing this show. We'll still be quoting it. People will still be wearing t-shirts of Homer Simpson, Bart Simpson, Lisa Simpson. These characters, I think, are always going to be a part of society, because truth be told, I think while a lot of us say The Simpsons should have ended ages ago, I think a lot of us don't know how to live without it. Personally, if The Simpsons should end sooner than later, I don't think that should be cold turkey. I think they should occasionally do a reunion special. Like Futurama ended recently, and it ended in a really nice way. But I like the fact that we had the Simpsons crossover special with Futurama, and I want to see more of that. I feel like a second Simpsorama thing, maybe as like an annual thing, could be a really good way to go. It would be a good way of keeping the Futurama cast alive, and it would be a good way of keeping The Simpsons relevant. Or maybe, oh, I pray for it, if The Simpsons gets axed, how about another Simpsons Guy episode? The Family Guy writers clearly paid a lot of tribute to The Simpsons in that episode, and a lot of people say that the humor in it was a bit too coarse for The Simpsons, but I think that's a testament to just how tame The Simpsons is these days. Well, what do you guys think? Comment below and discuss. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit the like button, and in the description below is the link to my Patreon page. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I've been Channel Pup, and for now, get the fuck out. This video is brought to you by Zentai Zentai for all your cosplay needs. Link is in the description below, and they are very cool and good. Cosplay your favorite characters or send in one of your own designs. Affordable prices and very high quality. Made to order and made to measure. But most of all, made to be heckin' awesome, if you couldn't already tell.